Hello and welcome back to the Offensive Line. My name is Hanson, your host, and today we have on this episode my friend Erin Whipperman, who is another member of our church, Redeemer's Grace Church, and she'll be on this time to share about the question, where do you place your hope? Erin, do you have any thoughts on this question? Anything you want to share regarding this question that you would like the viewers to know about?
I really like this question because I think as believers, we have to have hope, right? And our hope is a living hope. And if we place our hope in anything outside of Christ, it is a dead hope. And it's a hope that's going to disappoint us. So it's so important to have, whether it be an unbeliever or believer, know where their hope is in, because that dictates where you put your faith as well. So I think it's a really important question to consider.
What are some common things that people have placed their hope in?
So in a recent conversation I had with a friend about where she places her hope, at first she had to really think about the question because she hadn't really thought about what do I hope in, or where is my hope placed? And then she started, okay, maybe it's in work, and maybe it's in a better future. And then there was leading questions of, well, what are you expecting in the future? What do you think the future holds for you that's maybe better than now? And at the end of it, as we work through that, it then goes into, is that object of your hope, is that something that promises that is that hope foundational? Is it something that will be promised to you that you know that you can get with that hope? Or is it something that's fleeting or unpredictable? And so it's coming up with, where their hope is found in, whether it be work, whether it be relationships, finding a relationship, and hope for a better future, whatever that kind of looks like for that individual.
Yeah, that's a good point that you bring up, because biblically what we see with hope is that hope is not just something that may happen, right? When we talk about what we hope in and how, as Christians, what we hope in, which hopefully all Christians would have the same answer, which is that we hope in Christ. We know for sure that it's going to happen in the future, but it's going to happen for sure. There's no uncertainties about it. So I think that's really cool that you're able to bring that up and to share that with your friend. When would you use this question in particular as opposed to other questions that you might ask in evangelism?
Generally this question, so I brought this question up with a friend I know pretty well who's an unbeliever. I don't necessarily think this would be a question I would maybe use right off the bat with someone that I don't know. So I think with this question, I've gotten to know that individual a little bit and seen where are some things that they're having a hard time rationalizing in their mind, as far as like what they put their hope in, or where their joy is found, where their happiness is found, all these things. Like, what are they kind of staking their lives on? And then how can I pull that out to show them that that's something that can't give them true hope? So I think it's definitely a question that you want to have a little bit of background to first, in a way, because then you want to be able to approach it and know how you're going to approach it based off of what the answer they give you. So I think I would use this question more with someone I knew decently well as an unbeliever, or it had other conversations with first to kind of determine, to kind of lead into that specific question.
Yeah, that's a good point that you brought up with how when you ask this question, that it's not something that you would just ask right off the bat, hey, how are you doing? Where do you place your hope? But it's something that you build a relationship first before. There's certain questions that we have that you want to wait until you know the person a little bit better, or else it would be kind of a little off-putting that you would ask it from the very beginning, right? I think it's very similar to some questions that we've had in previous episodes, especially one that Victor and I did together, where he talked about what motivates you. And I think what we see is that no matter if they're a believer or an unbeliever, that they have different hopes and dreams and motivations, right? Because everybody is unique, everybody is created differently. They're created in the image of God, but then they have unique personalities, upbringings, and whatnot. So I think it's really good that you shared that. So thank you. So I know that you work for the Navy, and for a couple of years now, you were on a ship, going out to sea, coming back, being in port. And we've never had someone that's in the Navy before on the offensive line. So I think it would be a good opportunity to ask you, for the viewers as well as for me, to know, what does evangelism look like for a Christian in the Navy?
That's a good question. I think it's been a really exciting opportunity in a lot of ways. The neat thing about especially being out on a ship is you have a very you're all kind of in a one team, one fight mentality in a big group. And so you develop a lot of very close friendships because you're all on a ship and you're kind of there, right?
I thought you were going to say because you're on a ship, they have nowhere to go.
That too. I mean, that's too. But then I think it also brings up some neat conversations because being out on deployment, being out in these environments can be very stressful. And so people are looking for hope and they're looking for, even if we have chaplains on board, which is a huge blessing. So, people are going to chaplains to get that support or counseling because it is a very challenging environment. And so it's opened up some really neat opportunities to talk to people about hope or just be able to provide that witness of what it looks like to have hope in something, to still have joy despite challenging times. And we got to have a Bible study during deployment, which is a huge blessing for me, just to be able to rally around some Christians and then invite some unbelievers to it at times as well, which was really neat.
Yeah.
And they were really excited to be there too, learning about the word, which was really exciting. And then from living overseas to now living here, I've developed friendships with people now around the world, and then you can follow up with them and share with them. And there's a general, I think in a lot of ways, people are very open because the Navy is such a melting pot. We have people from all over, all different type of lifestyles and cultures, which is really neat to all come together. And so it gives you a really unique opportunity to share.
Yeah, that's I remember one time when Jen and I visited your ship, and then I think because you mentioned chaplains before, but I think some of the chaplains, because like they like rotate, are not actually Christian chaplains, right?
There's different types of chaplains, right? So there may be chaplains that are from a different religious background, so they'll rotate through depending. Right now, all of our chaplains are from Christian backgrounds, which is really neat.
That's good, yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess even if they aren't from Christian backgrounds, that they're from a different religion, that at least that you can talk about hope, no matter how they would, obviously, if they're, Muslim or Catholic or whatever, that they might respond differently, that they might have a different answer for this question, but you can still have opportunities to ask this question to people who have come to talk to the chaplain.
Right.
Thank you for sharing on this episode of The Offensive Line. For this season, we've been going through Great Evangelists Ask Great Questions, and we had the opportunity to hear another great question from my friend Erin Whipperman to share about what do you place your hope in? Where is your hope? So the idea of hope. So it's always really fun to think about the different ways that we can approach people and to have conversations with people, building relationships with them and asking them different questions based upon how well we know them and the things that they do mention about themselves throughout the course of our conversations. So this is Offensive Line. You can always check us out on Facebook and Instagram. And stay tuned next week for another episode of The Offensive Line where we will be talking about another question that you can ask in your evangelism conversations. So we'll see you next week.